Let's be real. Formula One is currently selling us a dream, but the telemetry is showing a nightmare. If you've been scrolling through the 2026 regulation threads lately, the vibe is toxic, and for good reason. We're talking about a 65% disapproval rating from the core fan base. Why? Because the FIA is promising sustainability while handing us a car that essentially hits a limp mode halfway through a straight.
For the 25 to 35 crowd, the generation that grew up on raw V8s but masters the logic of sim racing, we can smell a marketing stunt from a mile away. The FIA claims these cars will be nimble and green. But when you look at the 50-50 power split between the internal combustion engine and the battery, the math just doesn't track. We're moving from a world-class racing machine to a high-stakes experiment in battery management. The demand from the fans is simple. We want the fastest drivers in the fastest cars. What's being supplied, however, is a strategic compromise that might turn the Monaco GP into a slow-motion parade of battery recharging. Here is where the C-suites at the FOM and the actual engineers on the ground are clashing. In 2026, the MG UK is getting a massive 350 kilowatt boost. On paper, that sounds electric. In reality, it's a disaster for track layout. To get that much juice, you have to harvest energy like crazy. Imagine you're pinned at full throttle down the back straight at Monza or Spa. Under the new regs, you're going to run out of electrical deployment way before the braking zone. This creates what the paddock is calling clipping, the moment the car loses nearly 500 horsepower instantly because the battery is tapped out. You're basically driving a Prius at that point, while your rivals are doing the same. This isn't just a technical hiccup, it's a fundamental flaw in the racing product. 45% of the global community is already pointing fingers at Stefano Domenicali for ignoring the red flags raised by Max Verstappen and Christian Horner years ago. They warned us that the cars would be downshifting on straights just to keep the lights on. When the best driver in the world tells you the car feels wrong in the sim, you should probably listen. But instead, the FIA doubled down on the 70-30 split narrative to satisfy car manufacturers, not the fans. Since the engines can't provide the top-end speed anymore, the FIA's solution is Aerodinamica Attiva, active aero. They've introduced X mode for the straights, low drag, and Z mode for the corners, high downforce. To a casual fan, it sounds like some futuristic cyberpunk tech. To anyone who knows physics, it looks like a desperate attempt to fix a power deficit they created themselves. The concern here is predictability. In our demographic, we value the raw, unassisted skill of the pilot. If the car is constantly adjusting its wings to compensate for a lack of engine grunt, are we even watching a sport anymore, or just a glorified algorithm? The 2026 regulations are essentially trying to code their way out of a mechanical problem. If that active aero fails, or if the Z mode doesn't kick in before a high-speed turn, we're not looking at a cool tech feature. We're looking at a safety hazard. Fans are calling this a tapa baracco, a patch rather than a solution. We're sacrificing the purity of the apex for the sake of an ESG report. Finally, let's talk about the stakes. 15% of the hardcore fanbase is already threatening to cancel their subscriptions. This is the disposable year fear. But there's one wildcard that keeps us watching: Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari. He's moving to the most iconic team in history exactly when the rules are being lit on fire. Is he walking into a masterpiece or a burning building?
The demand for V8s and V10s, which appeared over 50 times in our recent sentiment data, isn't just nostalgia. It's a demand for soul. California's car culture is built on the sound and the feel of the machine. If 2026 delivers a silent, heavy, clipping car that relies on moving wings to stay relevant, F1 risks losing the very audience it fought so hard to gain in the US. The FIA is betting that we care more about the planet-friendly badge than the racing. They're wrong. We want innovation, yes, but not at the cost of the adrenaline that made us fans in the first place. So, here's the question. Are we witnessing the birth of a new era of high-tech strategy? Or is F1 about to learn a very expensive lesson in fixing what wasn't broken? The sim results are in and the fans are loud. It's time for the FIA to stop looking at the marketing decks and start looking at the lap times.